Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to deep dive into oil changes.
Ooh, okay.
We've got this article, How Long Does an Oil Change Take?
Hmm.
It's by Artado for Quick Update, published December 25th, 2024. Whether you're a gearhead or just curious about this essential car maintenance, stick with us.
Yeah, I think this will be pretty interesting. A lot of people, they think of oil changes as just a chore.
Right.
But when you get the science behind it,
Yeah.
why it's necessary, it gets fascinating.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
So oil changes, why are they so important for our cars? What even happens?
So think of your engine like the heart of your car, and the oil is its blood,
Okay.
constantly circulating, lubricating everything,
Mm.
prevents the parts from grinding. Without it, all that friction creates heat,
Yeah.
and your engine could basically, seize up.
Oh, wow. So it's not just about things running smoothly. It's about preventing a total meltdown.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But over time, the oil breaks down. Gets contaminated, with metal particles, dirt, all sorts of stuff, like your blood getting thicker and sludgier. It can't do its job.
But so an oil change, it's like giving your car engine a blood transfusion.
That's a great analogy.
Okay, so how long does this whole process take? If you're doing it yourself versus like taking it to a mechanic.
Good question. If you're going to a pro, probably 20 to 45 minutes.
Oh, okay.
They got the experience, the tools,
That's not bad at all. What if I want to try it myself, though?
DIY route.
Yeah.
It'll take longer, maybe like 30 minutes to an hour, especially if you're new to it.
Right.
Got to gather the tools, find the drain plug, oil filter, dispose of the old oil properly, all that.
Okay, so why does it even take that long? Like, what are the steps involved?
Arcado breaks it down into 4 steps, basically. First, you drain the old oil.
Okay.
So you got to get under the car, find that drain plug, unscrew it carefully, let it all flow out.
Sounds messy.
It can be, yeah. Got to have a good drain pan. And then step 2, you got to change the oil filter. That little canister catches all the dirt so it doesn't contaminate the new oil.
So it's not just the oil itself, it's about keeping it clean.
Exactly. Then, step 3, you add the new oil.
Okay.
Find the oil filler cap, usually on top of the engine. Pour in the right amount.
I'm guessing you got to be pretty precise with that, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Too little, your engine's not lubricated enough. Too much, you could damage things. Your owner's manual will tell you exactly how much.
Okay, precision is key. So what's the last step?
You got to make sure you didn't mess anything up. Start the engine, let it run a bit, check for leaks, around the drain plug, the filter, everything.
A final inspection. Makes sense. So any tips for speeding things up?
Well, the fastest way is definitely going to a pro. They'll get it done quick. But if you're going DIY, the key is preparation.
Okay, so being organized can actually save you time?
Absolutely. Have everything ready before you start. Wrench, new filter, the right oil for your car, drain pan, rags, your owner's manual.
That's good advice. Anything else?
If you're going to a service center, try going during off-peak hours. Early mornings, weekdays. Avoid the crowds.
Good point. Nobody wants to spend their Saturday waiting around.
Right. So before we get into how to choose the right oil and all that, let's talk about why we do this. What happens if you just skip it? Or wait too long?
Okay, yeah, let's talk consequences. Is it really that big of a deal?
Well, remember how we were talking about the oil being like your engine's blood?
Yeah.
If it gets all gunked up, it's like your engine's trying to run with clogged arteries.
Oh, that sounds bad.
Yeah, it's not good. All that gunk builds up, creates more friction, wear and tear on the parts. And then, you lose performance, fuel efficiency goes down, and eventually you could be looking at some serious damage.
So it's not just running less smoothly. It could actually, shorten the engine's life, right?
Exactly. You skip oil changes, you could have worn bearings, damaged seals, even total engine failure in really bad cases.
Oh, wow.
And those repairs,
Yeah.
way more expensive than just getting regular oil changes.
So it's like preventative medicine for your car's engine.
Exactly. Now, before we talk about choosing the right oil, maybe we should address the whole DIY versus mechanic thing.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a classic dilemma, right?
Yeah.
Do it yourself or pay someone.
It is. So going to a mechanic, obviously it's convenient.
Right.
You just drop off your car. They do everything.
Mhm.
They've got the expertise, the tools. They're fast and efficient.
And probably less likely to screw something up.
True. They're trained for this.
Yeah.
And they'll dispose of the old oil properly, too, which is good for the environment.
Okay, so convenience, expertise, good for the planet. What about DIY, though? There's got to be some upsides to that, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Hmm.
For one, it's super satisfying to do it yourself.
Right.
Plus, you save money on labor. Just got to pay for the oil and filter.
So it really depends on your preference, how much time you have, your budget, all that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Speaking of DIY, though, we got to talk about what to do with the old oil.
Right, you can't just, like, dump it down the drain.
No way. That's terrible for the environment.
So what do you do with it?
Most auto parts stores, service centers, they'll take it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they have those special containers.
Okay.
They'll recycle it properly. You can also check with your local municipality. Sometimes they have collection points or hazardous waste programs.
Perfect. We'll put some links to those resources in the show notes for everyone. Okay, I think we're ready to get into the actual steps of an oil change, like the nitty-gritty.
All right, let's do it. We already touched on the 4 main steps, but maybe we can break them down even further.
Yeah, let's do it. The more details, the better.
Okay, so step 1, draining the old oil. Sounds easy enough, but people mess this up all the time.
Really? Okay. What do we need to watch out for?
First things first, safety. You're dealing with hot oil here.
Right.
So always wear gloves, safety glasses,
Got it.
and make sure the engine's cooled down before you start poking around.
Okay, safety first. Engine's cool. Got my gear on. What's next?
Got to find the drain plug. It's usually under the oil pan, the lowest point. You'll need a wrench to loosen it.
Mm-hmm.
And make sure your drain pan is underneath to catch the oil.
Okay. Any common mistakes people make here?
Oh, yeah. Using the wrong size wrench, over-tightening the drain plug when you put it back in. You want it snug,
Yeah.
not stripped.
Right. Anything else?
Be careful not to cross-thread it when you're putting it back in.
Mm-hmm.
If you start screwing it in at an angle, it can get messed up. Take your time, go straight.
Good tips. Okay, so drain plug's out, oil's draining. What's next?
Changing the oil filter. This can be tricky too.
How so?
Well, the filter's usually near the engine block, sometimes in a tight spot. You'll need an oil filter wrench for this. You can get one at any auto parts store. Just make sure you're turning it the right way to loosen it.
Is there a specific way?
Most of them loosen counterclockwise, but double-check the instructions on the filter itself, just in case.
Good point. What about putting the new one on?
Before you screw it on, put a little bit of fresh oil on the rubber gasket at the top.
Oh,
Helps create a good seal, prevents leaks.
that's a good tip.
And don't over-tighten it. Snug, but not too tight. You got to be able to get it off next time.
Right. Okay, filters change. Now what?
The main event. Adding the new oil.
All right, let's do it. What do I need to know?
First, make sure you got the right type of oil for your car.
Okay.
Your owner's manual will say what viscosity and type it needs.
Mm-hmm.
Conventional, synthetic blend, full synthetic.
There's a difference?
Oh yeah, big time. We'll get into that in a bit. For now, just use what your car's manufacturer recommends.
Got it. So I've got my oil. I found the oil filler cap. Now what?
Carefully pour it in. Use a funnel so you don't spill.
Okay.
And add it in stages. Check the oil level on the dipstick as you go.
So don't just dump it all in at once.
Right. Your owner's manual will tell you how much it needs. Once you're done, put the oil filler cap back on tight.
All right, oil's in, cap's on. Are we done?
Almost. Got to check for leaks. This is where you see if all your hard work paid off.
Yeah, no leaks. So how do we do that?
Start the engine, let it run for a couple minutes, then turn it off and look around the oil drain plug and the filter for any oil.
Oh, okay.
If you see any, tighten them up a bit. If it keeps leaking, you might need a new gasket or a mechanic's help.
Gotcha. So visual inspection is key. Okay, so let's say we did everything right. No leaks, engine's running smooth, we're good to go.
You got it. And you did yourself save some money.
Awesome. Okay, before we talk about choosing the right oil, I'm curious, are there any, common myths about oil changes? I feel like I've heard so many different things.
Oh, yeah, there are tons of myths out there.
Like what? Like I always heard you got to change your oil every 3,000 miles.
The 3,000-mile myth.
Yeah. Is that, not true anymore?
Not really. I mean, it used to be back in the day when engines were simpler and the oil wasn't as good.
Okay.
But now, engines are way more advanced, and synthetic oils, they can handle a lot more.
So I don't need to change it that often.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Most cars now, it's more like 7,500 to 10,000 miles.
Wow. Okay. So basically, just check your owner's manual.
Exactly. It'll tell you what your car needs.
What other myths are out there?
Well, a lot of people think you can tell if your oil needs changing just by looking at it.
Oh, yeah. Like if it's dark, it's bad.
Right. But that's not always true. The oil will darken over time. That's normal.
So even if it looks okay, it could still be time for a change.
Yeah, the oil breaks down over time, even if you can't see it.
It's like you can't tell if a fruit's rotten just by looking at the outside.
Perfect analogy.
What about synthetic oil? I've heard that's only for, fancy cars.
Another myth. Synthetic oil is great for any car.
Really?
Yeah. It's made in a lab, so it's more consistent, and it can handle higher temperatures.
So what's the difference between synthetic and regular oil?
Regular oil comes from crude oil. It's got all sorts of different molecules in it. Synthetic oil, they make it by combining specific molecules.
So it's like engineered to be better.
Exactly. It lasts longer, protects your engine better.
Okay, so synthetic oil, good for any car.
Got it.
Yep. Any other questions?
I think you covered pretty much everything.
Awesome.
So oil changes, they're super important.
Yeah, one of the simplest but most crucial things you can do for your car.
It's like an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Right, totally. Keep up with those oil changes. Use the right oil. Your car will thank you.
Great advice. So to recap, oil changes, essential for a healthy engine.
Yeah.
Forget the 3,000-mile rule. Check your owner's manual. Oil color isn't everything.
Nope.
Synthetic oil, good for all cars.
Absolutely.
Use the right oil for your car, always.
And if you're doing it yourself, be safe, have the right tools, and dispose of the old oil properly.
All great points.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's our deep dive on oil changes.
Yeah, I think we covered it all. Thanks for joining us, everyone.
And remember, take care of your car, and it'll take care of you.
Drive safe.